Because I was asked. Hi, I'm Jonathan Pritchett with Theology, Geek, Fitness. In this video, I'm going to go over the books that I have in my office. Now, as you can tell, this is the third office I've been in since I started the channel. And this is about the size of the first office that I had when I first started this channel. And for a while there, I had a very large office, had lots and lots of bookshelves in there. But due to various reasons, we've had to relocate. And so now my office is here, and so I had to actually pare down some of the books in my office because I didn't have enough space for all the bookshelves. So this is what I kept, and then a lot of books are either in boxes or back home or in a storage downstairs from where I'm at now. So I've had to scale down, and so what I have kept in my office, I think, is a balance between what I need for my work and what I want to have for my own interests and what I'm interested in having around and reading in whatever free time that I can get. So let me go over the books that I have. This is what a theology geek, a professor at a seminary with limited space. This is what I think is the essential books to have on my shelf. So let's take a look. So there you go. There's some shelves. And starting with this bookcase right here, across the top are some essential Christian works from church history. Bonaventure, Luther, Arminius, Edwards, Calvin, things like that. And then starting on this shelf, I have Epic of Gilgamesh all the way through Tolkien and some others. And then at the bottom, you've got the Dune and Stephen King. Here you've got the, there's my 5-version bookshelf of Bibles. You've got the Black's Reader Service, which was like the Netflix of books back in the day. Here we have the Pocket University set that I like, the Harvard Classics set. Then below that, I have the Harvard Classics Shelf of Fiction, and then the Annals of America, and then a King James Bible, large print. Then on the other side, here's the Great Ideas program from Britannica, and then the first edition, or this is actually the second printing of the first edition of the Great Books of the Western World. Then there's the Gateway to the Great Books set, which has different stuff in there, and then the Ante-Nicene, Nicene, and Post-Nicene Fathers, some Philip Schaff stuff, some Lightfoot stuff for Church Fathers, a set of spiritual classics. Here's some dictionaries and compendium books. Here's some stuff on literature and great books type stuff that I like to read, and then some Bibles, and then I have the Brick Bible. Then over here is more work-related stuff. There are my systematic theology books that I still have on my shelf, some church history and apologetics type stuff. In theology, there's some preaching and some ethics, philosophical works, and then I've got some worldview stuff and philosophy of religion. And then down at the bottom, there is Smithsonian sets, some other little sets that I collected over the years. Here we have some theology, New Testament stuff, New Testament theology, some Old Testament commentaries and handbooks for prophets and things like that. Here starts some New Testament commentaries that I have in hardback, more New Testament commentaries and things like that. And again, still more New Testament commentaries. And then over here, I've got my hermeneutics and exegesis books, textual criticism stuff, canon stuff, background Bible commentaries, interlinear Greek and Hebrew textbooks and stuff like that, some stuff on the Talmud and Jewish traditions. Then I have just kind of whatever I wanted left over on that shelf. And then here is just more like cultural stuff that I like to read, and some church history stuff, some contemporary theology stuff, Portable Seminary, got my copy there. Saw the closing of the Evangelical Mind. This is stuff I inherited from my father, so I'm not a big John MacArthur fan, obviously, but that's books that I inherited from my dad. And then, of course, my Logos software that has 6,638 volumes, which, believe it or not, is actually lightweight. Then I also have a Kindle. And then, like I said, I have more books downstairs. So these are the works that I considered essential to have in my office. and like I said, it's divided between my personal interests, which I'm interested in literature. So like I said, on this shelf directly behind me, that top shelf, is a lot of important Christian works throughout church history. You've got Ignatius, you've got Cyril of Alexander, Pseudo-Dionysius, Bonaventure, Martin Luther, all the way up to a bunch of C.S. Lewis stuff. And then that's what I consider like essential Christian reading outside of the Philip Schaff edition of the Ante-Nicene, Nicene, and Post-Nicene Church Fathers. That set, those are what I consider essential reading. All of the other stuff on that theology shelf that I just showed you, and commentaries and all that. That stuff's great, but it's not like the most essential stuff. It's just academic commentaries and technical commentaries, things like that. But it's not really. I mean, if you wanted to be like well versed in Christian thought, everything on that top shelf right above my finger, and then those church father stuff, and then with Aquinas and Augustine, which is in the Schaff editions, but Aquinas is in the Great Book set. And then I've got Summa Contra Gentiles up here on that top shelf as well from Aquinas. So that's really, I mean, if you just wanted like essential Christianity in the Western tradition, those are the books that are most important. Then below that, I've got everything, Sir Walter Scott, I've got, Dumas, I got, everything from Jane Austen to Dickens and William Faulkner, Tolkien, Ayn Rand, just like a lot of stuff that you don't find, like a lot of literary classics that I don't have duplicated in like the Harvard classics or shelf fiction or the Great Books stuff, or even the Black's Reader Service stuff, which was, like I said, kind of like the Netflix of the olden days where you subscribe by paying a monthly fee and they send you a volume. And so I collected all those volumes. I like those kinds of sets. So that stuff I think is like essential reading for every human being that lives in the Western Hemisphere of the world. The great books, the Harvard classics, the Pocket University stuff, the Black's Reader Service, and the books on this shelf. That's all really essential reading, I think. And then theology books are take it or leave it. Contemporary theology books, there's probably 2 great books a year that are published. And then most of the other books are either good or bad or mediocre. And so that kind of stuff, I don't really care whether I have it in hard copy or I have it in my Logos software or on Kindle or something, because really it's stuff that's going to be superseded by later scholarship at some point anyway. But so my interest really lies in the foundational works of not just Christianity, because, I'm a Christian, I'm interested in theology, I'm a seminary professor, but also just like the classics of the Western world. So those are my primary interests. And so if you're looking to put together a library, I suggest starting with those kind of works. And even if you're not a Christian, you should be reading those works, including the Christian works. I mean, maybe not the entire set of the Church Fathers Schaff stuff, but I mean, some key works in church history to familiarize yourself, especially if you're engaging in conversations about the Christian faith, even if you're attacking it or whatever. But those are kind of things I think are essential reading. I love on top of the Black's Reader Service, my wife got me this Christian Standard Bible 5-volume thing. It doesn't have verse numbers in it, so it's just like reading it as you would a book, and so I really like that. I like reading that for my personal reading. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan. I'm not saying all of it is as excellent. These classics you're going to love them the way like literary snobs love it, because I don't consider myself a literary snob. I just want to be familiar with the works. So, I mean, that shelf behind me, like I said, there's also Stephen King on there, the Dark Tower series, and I've got the Frank Herbert's Dune set, and then I have that stuff that his son Brian did with Kevin J. Anderson, which is not as good, but I mean, I found them at a thrift store for cheap, so I got those. Then I have some books up in here. that I haven't put out in a box. It's like, you know, the Asimov type stuff, you know, classic sci-fi stuff, Arthur C. Clarke stuff. Only one Arthur C. Clarke book actually made it to my shelf of essential books, and that's Childhood End, which is a great book. But yeah, that's pretty much what I keep around in my office, because believe it or not, Christians don't just read theology books. Unfortunately, a lot of Christians only read theology books, and they're not reading enough fiction, and not reading enough classic literature, and they're certainly not reading enough church history, just my opinion. But I keep around the works that have stood the test of time on these shelves behind me, and then that other shelf that has my, like, you know, my commentaries and systematic theology and stuff. That stuff is not stuff I'm taking with me at retirement. I will pass on all those kind of books that I have, and I have actually already started because I have so much duplicated stuff in Logos. But, you know, people have passed on those books to me, professors and pastors who have gone on to retirement. So when I go into retirement, I'm not taking that stuff with me. What I am going to be taking is, like, everything on this shelf, the Black's Reader stuff, and everything on that island shelves there with the Harvard Classics and great book stuff. I mean, those will go with me. They will be passed on to my kids. That little shelf of stuff, that was my dad's. I don't know that any of my 3 kids are going to care about John MacArthur commentaries. I don't even care about John. I hang on for sentimental value. You know, I think there's like an old edition of Wayne's Grudem Systematic Theology, which I'll never, you know, open again. I've read it a long time ago. But those are the kind of things I keep around, and the reasons I keep them around, even if I had to scale down what I have in my office. So I don't know why this video was requested, but if you are interested, well, I appreciate you watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless.